My name is Ray, and I am one of the pastors here. I've been pastoring here for 35 years as of this month. So I know I look only like I'm 30, but I am, that's a joke, obviously. Okay, well, yes. I got led to the Lord. My wife got led to the Lord as students here at A&M through members of this church. This has been really, as a believer in Jesus Christ, this is the only church I've ever known. And I am so grateful for God's work through the ministry of this church. You know, I was ordained a pastor in 1988, and I was one of two pastors here in somewhere in 1989. The other guy said he felt led by the Lord to go plant a church in Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so after 1 year of being a pastor, I was a solo pastor here. And we started something in 1989 that we've been doing ever since. It's called a leadership retreat. And we just came back from it. That's where we were last, a week ago, close by here at a retreat center called Messiah's Ranch. I'd like to just share a little bit of what went on there. I can say this is the reason why we did that leadership retreat back in 1989 is that, like I said, I was a solo pastor, and I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think we better get away, see if we can round up a few people and get away, and we're going to pray, and we're going to worship, and we're going to talk about something. I'm not sure yet what, but we are going to talk and try to make some plans. And so we've been doing that every year since then. In early August of each year, take all the pastors out. We had about 80 of us together out there at Messiah's. Small group leaders, small group leadership teams, and so on and so forth. We were together, and it was a beautiful and powerful time. God did amazing things out there. What we have done typically is that on Friday night we have a night of celebration, a night where we talk about all the things that God has done in the previous year. And then we have a great time of worshiping together and giving thanks to the Lord. And so we did that again this time. We talked about I'm just running through a few things real quick. Some of these names may not mean anything to you, but we did commission a young couple that with their little baby girl that had been with us for a number of years getting raised up into the mission field. And so they went to Central Asia back in February. We had a beautiful, powerful time here this morning. Hello? We had communion together. Their families were here. They had communion right up here together, praying. There was crying and weeping. It was powerful. And then it was a commissioning ceremony, and their parents went away just saying they could not believe what happened that morning for their children. And they're over there and doing well. We also had a Costa Rica short-term trip this year. Let me see. I'm sorry, Sam, tell me the number of people that went. 10 people went, some of them for pretty much the whole summer, and it was powerful there. And LT, Mark mentioned leadership training out in Estes Park, Colorado. Mark was just up here. He talked about it. We had 14 people go out there. And again, it was an uptick as far as what we've done in the past out there. That morning, we recognized that night, celebration night, we recognized all kinds of new leaders. I don't know how many, I didn't count them, but there were a lot. It's like it would have filled from one end of the stage to the other here, and both in the campus ministry and the city ministry. We celebrated the fact that we had 8 marriages. 16 people from this church got married last year. Isn't that crazy? You get 16, 8 marriages, 8 and 8, okay? So, yeah, that was powerful. We had 5 new babies born this past ministry year. The compassion ministry they got up and they talked about how God had been using them to, in 2 ministries. I'm sorry, I'm going to draw a blank. Is Alex here? No, she's at a wedding. Someone else from the Compassion Ministry. Remind me the names of those ministries. Unbound. And what's the other one? It sounded like you said Peacock. Okay, great. All right. Hey, my ears are going, okay? My ears are going. Two different. One, Unbound, reaches out to those coming out of the sex trafficking, right? Victims of sex trafficking. And Peacock is an outreach to unwed mothers. And anyway, powerful testimony there at that Friday night time. Tim Yancey, those that know Tim, he's on staff here with our campus. He got up and talked about how God had used he expanded the outreach ministry on campus. The Friday morning outreach times. Rachel got up, talked about the gospel presentations. Over 50 gospel presentations in our campus home groups were made, making sure that every person in the home group had heard the gospel. Those are just a few of the things that took place this past year. That was our celebration night. It was powerful, it was beautiful, but that's not really what I'm going to talk about a whole lot. I just did, but no more. The next night is our dedication night, and I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about our dedication. So we celebrated the past year. We're dedicating, on Saturday night, we dedicate the new year to the Lord. And so I'm not going to talk about the specific items that we prayed about. What I'm going to rather do is just put this all in the context of what God did in my life out at the leadership retreat. And so I go out there on my wife and I go out there because there's a lot of work. She takes care of the food, and I am her assistant, her lovely assistant out there the whole time for 3 meals, for lots of people, for the whole week. And so we got out there early, and as I opened the Word, where I was in the Bible at the time was 2 Samuel chapter 22. And I'm going to talk about that this morning. As soon as I read it, I felt the Lord saying to me, this is going to be where you're going to camp out all week long. In fact, this is what you're going to camp out in all year long. 2 Samuel chapter 22. See, it starts off this way, verse 1. David sang to the Lord the words of this song when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all of his enemies and from the hand of Saul. What we have here, now this is chronologically, it doesn't really fit with some of the other events. But thematically, it does. It gets to the end of 2 Samuel, and it's a song of victory. It's David's song. And as soon as I saw that and said it's a song that God gave him, a song that he sang to the Lord, I thought, that's what I need. I need a song in my heart for you, God. And it's a song of victory. And God, that's what I need. I need a song of victory. Because you have delivered me, God. You are continuing to deliver me from the hand of all my enemies. I say, wow, Ray, you got enemies? Well, you know where those enemies reside? They reside right in here. In fact, let me read to you a few of them. This is part of journaling while I was out there. If I can find it. Yeah. I feel moved to declare the Lord as my rock and Savior, my refuge and deliverer. He has and will deliver me from spiritual beings and forces that assail me. See, David's talking about real enemies, the Philistines, the Amalekites, even King Saul, who were after his life. I read this and I thought, well, that doesn't resonate with me. In fact, in the New Testament it says, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces out there. And I felt like there's spiritual forces that are against me, and I need to be delivered from them. Discouragement, fear, disunity, unforgiveness, compromise, mistrust, cynicism, revenge, critical spirit, pride, impatience. Those are not friends. Those are not friends, and I feel all those that reside within me. Now, I can't say at this point, by the way, as David said, that God delivered me from all those. I feel like I'm in the process of being delivered from the hand of all my enemies. But that's why the song resonated with me, just for me, but also for this church for the coming year. David says in the beginning of his song, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation. He is my stronghold, my refuge, and my Savior. From violent people you save me." That's the NIV. What he goes through, and he goes through the rest of the song over and over again. This is what the Lord is to me. He is my rock. He says that a few times. He is my refuge. He's my deliverer. That is what God is to me. Over and over again. But not only does he say, this is what the Lord is. The Lord is my rock, my refuge, my fortress, my stronghold, my Savior. He says, he is mine. He's not just the Savior. He is my Savior. He is my stronghold. This is a very personal song, and this is what I needed. And I believe that's what this church needs. That's what probably you need. I know each and every one of us needs to be delivered. I know this because there are spiritual forces out there that are constantly coming against us. We need a stronghold. We need to be able to say, the Lord is my rock, my stronghold. He is the horn of my salvation. Horn being the strength. It says again, from violent people you have saved me. And I went through all those violence, all that violence, all those enemies. I just shared those with you. And then he says, so I called to the Lord. And boy, did that not resonate, because I was feeling it. I was feeling it from a year full of just feeling like I have been attacked. I'm not saying that there's a year where I don't feel attacked, but in particular this year I did. From all of these things, all of these enemies, from violence. And I called to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I've been saved from my enemies. He describes and he says, the waves of death, verse 5. The waves of death swirled about me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me. This was serious. And I'm just telling you, brothers and sisters, it felt very serious for me. Very serious. Pulled down. I read these and it's almost like he's talking about something where he's drowning. I don't know about y'all, by the way. I've always wondered, what's going through your mind and what happens when you're drowning? I don't know. That's kind of sounds morbid a little bit, but that's what he's talking about. It's like you know something is happening that you can't overcome. You're fighting your hardest, but it's still happening. The cords of death are coiled around you, and it seems like you're just dragging you under. And he says, in my distress, I called to the Lord. I called out to God, and this is what happened. From his temple, his holy temple in heaven. This is not, there wasn't a temple that David had built yet. So it's not talking about the temple upon the earth. It's talking about God's holy temple. We're going to see that in a minute again. From his holy temple, he heard my voice. My cry came to his ears. And then something started happening. the earth trembled and it quaked. The foundations of the heavens started shook. They trembled, it says, because God was angry. Why was God angry? Who was he angry at? He was angry at the enemies. And that's what I needed from God. For God to be angry at my enemies, those enemies that were, and I would say to a certain degree, still are. God, I need you. In my distress, I called out to the Lord, and he was angry. And it says in verse 10, and he parted the heavens, and he came down. And it's like in this big thunderstorm, he's moving on the cherubim, on the clouds, the dark clouds, and he's throwing lightning bolts. And all kinds. He uses graphic language here. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot his arrows. He scattered the enemy. With great bolts of lightning, he routed them. He reached down. In verse 17, it says, he reached down and he took hold of me. Again, it's almost like I was drowning, and he reached down and he took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from the powerful enemy, my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. I'm going to skip on down a number of verses here to verse 28, where all David can say at this point is that you saved the humble. All I can say to you, God, is that I didn't turn away from you. That's it. You are my God. You're the only one I have left. In my distress, I call out to you, and you save the humble who say, I need you, Lord. But your eyes are on the haughty to bring them low. In verse 30. Verse 30 seems like a little bit of a change to me. At least in my heart it did. Devotionally, you might say it did. It was a shift for me, a shift from what God did, from what God maybe was currently doing, to the coming year. A shift to saying, this is what I desire. This is what I need, God. This is what I hope, God. This is where my hope is. Verse 30, with your help, I can. Verse 30, with your help, I can. I can advance against a troop. With your help, with my God, I can scale a wall. Worship team, y'all can come on back up. With your help, I can advance against a troop. With your help, oh God, this church can advance against the spiritual forces against us. With our God, we can scale a wall. Verse 33, it is God who arms me with strength. He keeps my way secure. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. That's a pretty stout bow. Okay, a bow of bronze. But with God's help, my arms can bend a bow of bronze. Let me read to you again from my journal. A little bit earlier in this same part of the song, God, you make me, you do these things. Your way is perfect in destroying enemies of true faith and godliness, and you are able to make my ways perfect. You are a shield and you give me a shield of victory over my enemies. You train me. You train me, God. God, I need further training. My battle skills are dull, and they become dulled. Train my hands for this current battle. Strengthen my spiritual muscles that I might be able to do what is beyond me or even humanly impossible, to bend a bow of bronze, to know and use the spiritual armor of prayer, the word, worship, fellowship, service, prophecy, evangelism, discipleship, faith, hope, love, to use these weapons not of this world, to demolish strongholds not of this world in my life and in others. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. In verse 38, I pursued my enemies and I crushed them. I pulverized them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. I crushed them completely, and they could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. And oh God, this is my prayers that that's what would happen. I need that. You need that. This church needs that, to crush the enemy. And again, all those little spirits out there, some people would actually call them, like demons or those kind of spirits. Sometimes maybe that's what it is. Sometimes it's just attitudes in us. But there are spiritual forces that assail us. We need God to train our hands for battle. We need Him so that we can pursue those enemies. And I did battle out at the leadership retreat. I'm just telling you, I did. I was doing battle out there. And I had friends out there doing battle. In prayer and worship and in the Word. And defeating, say, no, I don't mistrust that person. I trust them. I will not be disunited. I will not believe that lie. I will turn everything over to you that I'm anxious about. And all those things that I fear, I give those over to you. Crush them, pulverize them, demolish them. He says, I crushed them completely. They could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. And my brothers and sisters in Fellowship Church, may that be what this coming year is about. I don't know if this is, I don't know where this is hitting you, okay? I know where it hits me. And, the psalm, not the psalm, it is in Psalm 18, by the way, also. But in 2 Samuel 22, this song ends this way. The Lord lives. Would you stand? Would you please stand with me? I don't want to be the only person standing or the three of us. Will you stand and let's declare this? The Lord lives. The Lord lives. Praise be to my rock. Exalted be my God. The rock, my Savior. Then I'm going to skip down a few verses. Because part of the key for me with this psalm, or I keep saying that, 2 Samuel 22, this song, this spiritual song, is Jesus. Okay? Because here at the end, let me read to you. This is how he ends. Verse 51, he gives his king great victories. Well, I'm not the king. I want victories, but I'm not the king. You know who's the king? Jesus. He's the king. He gives Jesus great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to the anointed. Who's the anointed? Jesus. Now, David was here, but David was just basically a prototype. He was kind of a precursor, a type of Jesus. This, for us as Christians, we say this is about Jesus. He gives Jesus great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to his Jesus, his anointed one. It says here, to David and his descendants forever. And we know that main descendant is Jesus. To Jesus and his descendants forever. I can claim every verse in this psalm. You know why? You know who I know? I know Jesus. Okay? He's the anointed one, and I am in him. And because I am in him, because you are in him, because this church is in Jesus, there is victory. A time of great hope is ahead, of great expectation. You know what the way that retreat ended? It was crazy. We had a beautiful worship time. Like it started off just like normal. Beautiful worship time with all the leaders in there. And what happened is that Rachel May says, you know what, it seems like as we take communion, because we're going to take communion, said that we need to, this should be, I forget exactly what you said, Rachel, there, but this is meant to be a powerful uniting time in here as we take communion. We're not just taking it separately. And so what we did is that we were kind of spread out, just like we would be in this room, spread out. But what we all did is we formed kind of a mosh pit. We all came forward, okay? It wasn't in this room, but it was similar. The stage was lower, but everyone, we all came forward. And praise and prophecy and worship just broke out. Oh, it was amazing. The Spirit of God just flooded that room. And there was prayer and worship that was so powerful and so beautiful. So much hope. Leaders, we had leaders laying their hands on pastors and staff, and hope arose. The power of God. The Lord lives. He is our rock. He is our salvation. He will demolish strongholds. He will demolish enemies. He will pulverize them. Will we believe him? Will we call upon him? This is not over, okay? I need my hands trained for battle. You need your hands trained for battle. But there's victory in Jesus. It's more than just a song. It's our faith. As we go into this new year, a ministry year, let us declare this morning. There's going to be a prayer mic. I just want to encourage you. Let's pulverize some enemies. Let's lift up Jesus. Let's say, the Lord lives. Blessed be my rock. This is where our hope is. Let's worship.